So I have another tip that I want to share with you guys, and I will give the disclaimer that this might be slightly controversial. I know every practice is probably going to have a different opinion on this, which is totally fine. That's totally awesome. In my experience, having worked with dental practices all across the country, I've seen some really awesome, meaningful results for practices who have been able to employ this tactic, if and when and where it has been needed. It's not necessarily always needed, okay? The tactic is, especially if you guys are booking and bringing people in for consultations for some of your higher end services, okay? So we're talking about, potentially braces, potentially Invisalign, absolutely implants, and especially if they're looking into the really high ticket implants, the 3-on-6, the all-on-4, all that type of stuff, okay? The tactic is, believe it or not, to actually ask for credit card to hold an appointment. Okay, boom, there it is. Okay, of course, I've had lots of people I've worked with in the past who have not been comfortable at doing this, and the only time I have suggested that you do it is when we have seen practices who are very, very consistent in all of their follow-up, in setting the appointment, in managing expectations, all that type of stuff, and then when it comes down to it, you get people who do not show up. Okay, I will say that is a normal thing to have happen. Of course, it's not something that we like to have happen, but easily holding credit card information or getting credit card information to hold an appointment allows them to have some level of commitment to actually show up for the appointment, okay? Because one of the big challenging things that we have, and again, this I'm painting with a broad brush, but when people have something that's free, they usually do not value it very much. Those who pay attention is a common phrase I've heard that I've actually found to be very, very true, okay? And again, this is going to set differently for every single practice out there. But at the end of the day, like what we're really trying to do with everything that we do is to set the expectation that, like, hey, I understand that you are looking into getting braces or looking into Invisalign, or maybe you are looking into coming in for a potential implant, right? There's a lot that needs to happen to understand if that's a fit for you, to understand what that's going to look like, okay? But the vast majority of that needs to happen inside an office. And so even though it is a higher ticket thing, you are taking the time and attention of our dentist, of our actual practicing doctors who otherwise would be taking care of other patients. You're taking up their time to assess this, to give you that consultation, okay? Now, I understand that this can happen for free for a lot of practices out there, which is awesome, right? Because the whole goal is like, hey, I'm doing that for free as a service for you guys as patients. And if you find value in it, if things make sense, then let's move forward with treatment, which is awesome, okay? But one way that you can frame that service a little bit differently, and especially on the side of implants, this may not work quite as well for braces or for Invisalign or any kind of clear aligner. For implants, when people are coming in, many times they may need a whole bunch of work done. If it's just like a single implant, it's probably not as big of a deal. But especially if it's like a 3-on-6 or all-on-4, they are coming in and you are providing them lots of different options from a financial standpoint and lots of different options from a treatment standpoint, especially if you are a practice where you are not, solely hell-bent on, like, I just want to get people in on all-on-4. Like, if you have the flexibility to work with people, where maybe they can't afford it right now, and so you are getting them a denture for some period of time, or maybe they need to have a bunch of bone grafting work done to begin with, you might have some type of treatment that you want to start them out at, right? As they come in for a consultation, you could actually frame and kind of package that together as its own standalone service. Like, believe it or not, you could even actually charge for a service like that, and you don't have to have some big, high, cost prohibitive price. But if you were to put out like, hey, it's going to be 25 or 50 or 75 bucks or $100, again, I'm speaking generally to practices all across the country. Every single market is vastly different in what you guys can charge and what the normal expectation is. But if you package that up as kind of its own product, that could actually be something that you do charge for. Because at the end of the day, like when they come and they meet with you and you've said, hey, there's 2 or 3 different options that we could go down from a financial standpoint as well as a treatment standpoint, you're laying out a bunch of different options for them. That on its own is worth a good amount of value, because they could then take that, and of course, ideally they could move forward with you, but they could also go over to to the practice down the street to a competitor of yours, right? So you could, in theory, actually charge for that actual service if you wanted to, and that's really not not in my scope of what I'm here to cover, okay? But the main thing I'm wanting to suggest to you guys, as an easy to implement tactic, and there are easy ways that you can kind of phrase this in your conversation so it feels natural, so it doesn't feel like you are poking and prodding them for information, but is to simply ask for credit card. Okay, you can easily go about asking for it because, again, like you are taking the practice, you guys are booking time on your dentist's schedule. If you're doing the implant stuff, you're booking time for a very specialized dentist on his schedule, and that's just one of the things that you require. A good phrase you can do, a good phrase you can say is, it's actually just one of those things we've always done. Like, believe it or not, wording it like that, it's just something we've always done. That's kind of just our policy, or how we go about things. Like, just providing that credit card to hold that appointment can do wonders to get people to actually show up. And even if you are talking about, hey, if you book an appointment with us and you don't cancel and you no show, we have a $25 fee. No one's saying you have to actually process that fee, but simply going through the motions of requiring credit card to book that appointment, hard and fast to have that in the schedule, I promise can lift and increase the number of people who show up for those consultations and end up moving forward with treatment. When you sit back and think about it as a general consumer, how many other things do we book appointments for, or book experiences, or book treatments, or any of these other things in our personal lives where we are very used to providing a credit card, right? Like when I go to the hotel and I'm going to stay there, even if I'm paying at the end of it, I'm providing my credit card for incidentals. There's many places where I'll go out to a nice restaurant and I'm putting my credit card down to hold that appointment. And in fact, some of the higher end restaurants, I'm actually paying to have my reservation. Okay, it's a pretty normal thing. So don't worry so much about it. You don't need to sit and think about it a ton. Again, the lay of the land here is, if you guys seem to be having a challenge with getting more people to show up for your free consultations, and you've already done the other stuff that I recommend, you're already very timely in your follow-up, you're very good at setting the expectations on the phone so that they know and understand this is an important thing. If you've done all of that and you are still getting a ton of no-shows, this is a very easy thing you can implement, and I promise it will really help you to get some awesome results. Try that out. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you guys in the next one.